ever been to a U2 concert? Anyone want to kind of admit they've been to one? This is like a U2 concert. And if you look around, like, it's all board level executives, right? All like senior, like, white men. And they're all like, they're holding the lighters in the air. They're all like, holding hands, the tie around their head. Like, they're all singing along with Bono and like, so they have like emotions and they're like human beings as well. And I think this stuff, it works pretty universally because there's something in our heads that's like when you tell someone a story that they will pay attention for 2 or 3 minutes. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to send you this. I'm going to send you this little storytelling pack. I'll send you a copy of the book. You can,
Ian,
use it for good or evil.
Ian, you mentioned something. I mean, I think one of the things is when you start thinking about a story, I think there's a natural feeling that, right, I've got to do a beginning, I've got to do a middle, I've got to do an end. It's going to take up a lot of time, when you're really just wanting to fire out to connect with your client base. But you have some good, you give some good advice about, actually, it's not the word, and as Luke touched on, it's not what you put in, it's what you take out. And also, and then assessing the quality of your writing. Do you want to just mention that to everybody? Because I think that would be really useful for all the account managers who are just thinking, well, I've got to think of a story and I've got to write the bloody thing and then I've got to do a hook. And how on earth do I make that, how can I get that down to sort of 15 minutes of my time and know that actually what I've written is going to actually land and do a good job?
Yeah. I think the thing to think about is like only ever communicate one idea, right? So there was this story about Harold Macmillan, the former British Prime Minister. There was this member of Parliament giving his maiden speech, and he was like quite nervous about it. And Macmillan gave him some advice. He said, "When you've been an MP for between 1 to 10 years, your speech can only have 1 point, right? But once you've been an MP for between 10 and 20 years, you might have enough experience to like raise it to 2 points, but that is at the absolute maximum. That's 2 ideas, 2 points is the most you'll ever get across." And it's just the same with a piece of communication. Just always just have one idea in it and just try and tell it as simply as you can. There's a writing tool. There's a writing tool called Hemingway. Has anyone seen this app? So if I just show it you, you can just go and use it today. So this is Hemingway. Yeah, this is Hemingway. You go there, and this is like the website is like a text editor. So you paste your words in, and it'll tell you what's boring. It'll tell you what's long, and it's almost gamifies it. So I can edit this. If you see a red highlight, your sentence is so dense or complicated, your readers will get lost. So I can just change that. Your sentence is dense. And the red goes away, your readers will get lost trying to follow it to the end during splitting logic. Yeah. So sometimes that's a good way of like forcing yourself to write in a clear way using a visual text editor. And also showing it to other people and like noticing when they stop reading. That's quite good.
I also like the analogy that you always put. You talk about the fact that actually it's about people like to write and they like to elaborate writing, and actually really you don't want to be elaborate. You just can really kind of condense it down, and almost the fewer words the better. And you also talk a bit about breaking it down so it's quite punctuated, isn't it? It's not just you don't have a paragraph with 16 sentences. You try and split it down so when you look at it, you can look at something and think, I can read that quickly, rather than, oh God, I'll put that to one side.
Yeah. I mean, I'll show you an example. Like, so I have the only way agency hackers is a community, and we've got like 150 agency members now. The only way this is marketed is through an email newsletter that I run. Like, there's no Google ads, there's no LinkedIn ads, it's literally just an email newsletter that I run. And I'll show you some of the kind of stories that we share in there. Before I do that, so like, when someone joins, what I do is I go back and I look at when they became a member. So this was a member called Rob. He runs an agency called Graphite down in Brighton. So they signed up and became a member. Look at when he started getting emails from agency hackers, 2017. Look at each one of these little dots is a piece of communication that he's had from us, like a story. That means it's delivered, that means it's open, that means a click. So if I just look at this one, the subject line was, it's 5:30 p.m. and the phone rings. If I just look at what that email was. Yeah, so the email is, imagine it's 5:30 p.m. You're about to leave the office when your phone rings. Which client do you least want it to be? And then it promotes, like, agency roundtable, which is this thing we used to do. So, and that's like a little, it's not strictly a story, but it's a little kind of just small thing. And so he's had this sort of drip feed of things for years and years and years. So when he signs up, he's like, one day he's, okay, right, I'm ready, I'm done, I can't take it anymore. One we sent out today, so if I look at the broadcast we sent out today, we sent this out about an hour ago, an hour and a half ago, and this is a story about a guy who runs an agency. And basically they do Google ads for like auto repair shops in America, and his problem is that, like, he'll do all the Google ads and drive the traffic, but then people phone up the garage and the guy's like drunk, he's like won't answer the phone. It's his like cousin Bubba who, like, has grease on his hands, and so they spend all this money and then wasting it. So what he's decided to do is take over like the conversion as well. So he'll go through to his call center. He'll now answer the phone, and all his clients have to do is like fix cars. What he's found is that he effectively now owns that business, right? Because from being like a little agency struggling to get them to pay him money, they can never fire him because he's gradually owning more and more of that business. So this was a story about this, but if you look at how the sort of features of this email, like, it starts with a name, like, people love names, like, it just sparks curiosity. There's bullet points, people love bullet points. There's some spacing, it's not talking about myself, it's talking about someone else. So yeah, that's kind of, you always want you want to just be always thinking like, what's like, how can I drop people in a movie? Like, when you go to the movie and everyone's rustling their popcorn and you think, are they ever going to shut up? And they do shut up because the first scene is like a car exploding or like, something dramatic happening. And that's kind of the effect I think you sometimes want to have in your writing. You want to have that sort of, like, Shakespeare used to do this in his theatres, because the theatres back then were like, had no sound, no amplification. Obviously, they were just full of, like, I don't know, drunken wenches and people selling chickens or whatever they did in Shakespeare times. And so the start of a Shakespeare play is always a battle scene because they need everyone to, like, shut the fuck up and listen to this damn play. So that's kind of what you're doing here with a story. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that was very helpful. I think that was very interesting. I enjoyed it. Do we want to? Does anyone else? I've got a question, but it's a bit related to what Ian's doing now. So, has anyone got any questions regarding, the strategy that Ian's talked through and the whole business of storytelling? Over to you.
I've got a question, which is just what's the most interesting or most memorable outcome you've had as a result of telling a story?
I think you